Holy scar-crossed lovers, Batman! Tiki here, and I am watching through Batman, the animated series, for the first time, and I am just taking in all the knowledge, all the information, all the insight that this show can give me. I've got someone by my side leading the way. Tell them why, Dragon.
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow. A vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham, in a way.
And tonight we're talking Catwalk. And Dragon, this is yet another one of those kind of follow-up episodes in season 3 where I got to admit, man, season 3 not really there's a few standouts so far, but it's not really my cup of tea. This isn't bad. It's got some fun stuff in it. I will say though, Dragon, with my thesis on the episode, I really don't care about most of the Catwoman stuff in this, just because I feel like it's territory that we've already covered. And what I really care about with this episode is more so the Scarface stuff. That's really kind of the bread and butter of this episode. That's really the only thing that I think kind of holds this episode up for me. So so besides that, this episode is, it is a rather delightful romp. I'll give it that much. I don't think there's a ton of substance there, especially in the Catwoman regard, but it's good enough.
Interesting.
Oh boy.
Okay, so a little context here. So this was directed by the great Boyd Kirkland, who did the Cat Scratch Fever, which was that was the original sequel to Catwoman. So you had like the two-parter, which introduced her, and then you had Cat Scratch Fever. That was the first one of the first rehabilitation stories.
Mm-hmm.
And also he did Read My Lips, which of course was the introduction of the ventriloquist and Scarface, so you can see kind of the nexus point here. It's like, yeah, there.
Sure.
Of course, this was written by the incomparable Paul Dini. Of course, he recently, season 3, did Harlequinade and Trial. His baby. Studio worked on this. Dong Yang. When Spectrum's away, Dong Yang will play. And I gotta tell you, man, I know I hype up Dong Yang all the time. Dong Yang kind of like, basically the go-to studio when Spectrum again. Oh, can't play. But Dong Yang, seriously though, it's I think season 3 is when Dong Yang really figured things out after working on the show for the first 2 seasons. And Dong Yang, like especially this episode has phenomenal Dong Yang animation, especially the opening sequence is gorgeous. Oh my god, I'm drooling over that opening sequence. But Dong Yang, of course, give you some example here. Almost Got Him, which features Catwoman, and again, I think this episode in Almost Got Him is probably the best looking Catwoman's ever looked in the entire animated series. And Harlequinade. So, yeah.
All right, maybe it's just the fact that I'm just not really too into Catwoman in general, and for me, I don't know, Dragon, there's only so many things you can do with Catwoman. It's like, either she's reformed, or she's struggling to be reformed, and she's struggling to go back to her own ways. So, I'm not going to say this episode doesn't look good, because for sure it does. It absolutely does. And, it's got the Dini writing on it. It's got the Dini stamp of approval. And I love the Scarface stuff, so I don't want you to feel like I'm just coming down on this episode. It's just, I don't know, for me personally, there's something about Catwoman, and it goes kind of beyond the animated series. There's just something about her arc where I don't really, there's only so much you can do with her, in my opinion. Does that make sense?
If I were to interpret, if I may, it's basically that Catwoman and Batman feels a little rinse and repeat for you, and
pretty much, yeah.
Where Talia is a little more of an would I be correct in reading that perhaps like you might drift a little bit more towards the Batman Talia, but all like a little bit more of the the star-crossed lovers in that regard.
Talia is a breath of fresh air because I feel like their interactions kind of differ from episode to episode, whereas I feel like Wayne and Selina's interaction is kind of static.
Gotcha. Well, here's the thing.
It's like, I feel like in order for the Catwoman and Batman dynamic to work, Dragon, I feel like they always have to be at odds with each other. You know what I mean? It's frustrating that way.
Yeah, the problem is there's no true evolution because if
Right,
there's
right.
evolution, then it dies. And it's like the animated series, and bear in mind, it's like decades before this eventually happened. I mean, we can't get to like the Tom King thing we
I'm
have now.
kind of just
Batman's
like airing my therapy about my feelings of Catwoman as a whole at this point.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It's like we're not at the point with Batman now where like Tom King's has done his famous turn with Batman Catwoman, where he's kind of gotten them married, and it was like a whole thing. So I'm not really spoiling anything because there's like it's a whole story there. But the point being, it's like they're getting married. It looks like I think they're trying to get her pregnant with his daughter. I think that's what they're trying to do right now in the comics. The point being, they've progressively moved forward and like stamped okay. We're doing Batman, Catwoman, but we're actually moving it forward now. But again, that doesn't happen for a long time. So Catwoman, the animated series would never be able to do that because if they do that, then the show's over. So that's the thing. But you're right. There is kind of a static thing there, and I feel here's my statement on the episode, along with like one important nugget of background. So because there's not really a lot of background on this. It's that basically this to me is like Dini's statement on the Batman Catwoman dynamic, which this episode, I feel, versus the other ones, is the evolution for Catwoman. Where basically, this is it's kind of another rehabilitation episode. I think it's a little more thoughtfully written, though. I feel Dini's taking a really nice stand on the Batman Catwoman relationship, but it's a little too late in the game for it. That's the problem. It's that if Dini had written this episode or something like this way back in the first season, I think maybe I don't know, maybe things could have changed or. Because we had Catwoman as the animal rights activist, going from animal rights to thief. Basically, she steals for the animal rights thing of it all. And then we get to Dini here. It's like Dini's doing like a soft retcon on this episode with Catwoman, basically saying, "I like the traditional Catwoman, where she steals, and it's kind of like the old '60s Batman temptation of like, oh, Batman wish he could rehabilitate her, but she's always going to be a thief in the end." But we didn't quite start off with that. We tried to make Catwoman the anti-hero. Remember?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. My point is, like, I like Dini taking a stab at, like, the last turning point for her story. Basically, this is Dini saying, okay, this is the last time we're going to say Batman flirts with the idea of being with Catwoman. Then moving forward in the show, he knows it's never going to happen. That's kind of, that's I think that's the strength of the episode. But again, I absolutely hear your point, Tiki. It's kind of like, I just think it's too late in the game. I think maybe that's what you're circling around. But that's just me. Anyway.
Okay.
All that said, let's dive into it.
Okay, so let's see. So we start out with Selena visiting a museum exhibit, and she sees a Black Panther. No, not that Black Panther.
No, well, it's a black leopard because again, it's like a Black Panther is
Okay,
like a dime a dozen. A black leopard, though, you never see a black.
All right. I'm trying to make a joke here.
No, I'm sorry. I mean, you're
It's
right.
fine. It's fine. All right. Anyways.
So we're at a museum function that she's been invited to, and she's in front of the black leopard.
Yeah. And so she's kind of reminiscing, like, "Oh, I feel just like you."
Yep, extinct. Basically her persona in the form of this is extinct, which then leads to we have this. She laments about her Catwoman days, and we have this. We have kind of this. It's kind of a daydream. It's kind of like an exaggerated flashback because this did happen, but obviously we're taking some really cool liberties with the animation here. So it's kind of like her. It's kind of her ideal. It's kind of the artistic liberty version of what happened to her in what we've seen so far in the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Like we took Red Claw out of the equation because again, Dini's trying to downplay the Red Claw of it all. Because I wasn't crazy with the Red Claw thing. I'm going to try to sidestep that. So anyway, so the point we have this glory. Oh man, this sequence I think turned out best in the episode as a whole. This is beautiful. So basically, we see Catwoman. She's stealing. She's basically hopping on rooftops. She's doing like use the cutting into the glass. She's stealing. We have this beautiful thing where like she has like the money shot where like the claws are out as she's stealing jewelry. I love how like it sparkles in the dark. Everything's dark and foggy in this sequence, and I love it. Like the steam and the fog coming out, the mist for the sequence as she's like holding these glistening jewelry. It's great. And then we have this the shadow with the with the bat symbol here. We have some great lighting here. We see the bat symbol and this piercing light behind him. Everything's backlit. It looks gorgeous. So Selena, she walks up, and again, this is like kind of a great, like almost dialogueless sequence about what Catwoman is here, where she's we see her walk up to Batman, and she's kind of charming him until she scratches him in the face, and the two of them fight. And then basically Selena then comes in with the inner monologue, and Kitty got her claws clipped that night because basically she fought her heart out, but obviously she's going up against Batman, so basically Batman he had to take her out. Then the long arm. We have the elongated shadows now because then we have like these shadows.
Yeah, the shadows are definitely one of the big things in the animation. That for sure. The shadows, the just kind of the backgrounds, the scale of the buildings, all that looks great. Absolutely.
Like the giant judge's podium, which like open cat scratch fever. So again, it's pretty much telling you what happened in cat scratch fever. But again,
also importantly, she drops a line: "I was the cat who walks by herself."
Which again will come back.
And the city was my hunting ground.
I love like me like getting over intellectual here. Like I love the elongated shadows of like when the giant podium forms because it's like the long arm of the law. You know, it's like we're connecting Batman's elongated shadow to like the giant justice thing happening. So again, long arm of the law. Anyway, anyway, so Selena, she's basically we see her sentencing, and basically she promised to be a good pet, walking on a short leash, even if it killed me. Of course, like she's then scratching the glass, like, oh man, like basically Catwoman is extinct, but Selena Kyle deep down is fighting that, despite her rehabilitation. Which again, we saw the rehabilitation. I'll give them points. There is an arc with Catwoman with everything that's happened. It just feels like this is the best. I think is the best end result of that story. Anyway, sorry. It's a point.
Yeah, you've already said that. Yeah,
I did. You're right. Thank you for clipping that. Okay, so she's fighting that despite her rehabilitation. Okay, so we have the dark lighting. I love like when we come back from the dreamlike little flashback there. The darkness disappears and then she's surrounded.
Yeah, it kind of like fades back out, right? It kind of like the lighting just like fades
into the
Jaguar. Yeah. That's nice. Also, I love the setting of this museum, Dragon. I love the big whale up on the ceiling.
Very New York inspired, like National History Museum.
Sure.
Of course, we have everyone's there at this nice little party function going here. Like Gordon and Montoya again. Gordon mentoring Montoya. I'm just saying.
Full of stuff in his face.
With sandwiches and everything. Then we have Veronica Vreeland. Of course, she hosted this thing. Vreeland, she's chatting up the high society hoity-toity friends.
So
then Bruce spots Selena out of the crowd. Selena, and of course, Selena, she's a little out of it. And the idea here being Bruce invited her to the function, because again, they're pals. He wants a little more, but they're pals. So, again, I love that great duality of Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle have this very different relationship than Batman and Catwoman have. It's very interesting.
Sure.
So let's see. So basically, Selena voices to Bruce that she misses the excitement, and she's she's very tempted. You know, she's eyeing the Vreeland jewelry, which importantly, people are seeing this, folks. It's a packed room. Some people might be seeing her looking at these jewels, knowing who she is. Just saying. So this is the moment that really hit me on the rewatch, man. I love the episode plays like a tragedy for Batman with his love life yet again, and I love like that Bruce Wayne is voicing, even though you'd be risking prison doing this. And again, this is
no. I mean, you're right. It does have a resonance there where sometimes you just there people on a path of self-destruction that you care about, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a jewel thief. You know what I mean? There's kind of a universal resonance there. Like, let's say it's a drug addict or a gambler or something like that. Like I feel like there's some sort of poignancy.
Absolutely, and I love that it's also Batman trying to understand, Catwoman as well as like the recidivism of a criminal. He's like the rehabilitation in general. Like, why would a criminal? He's just trying to understand it through someone he cares about.
Sure.
Which again, mission of Batman. He's trying to crack the code. Like, why can't these rehabilitation episodes have a happy ending in Batman? He's trying to figure out in his head to a degree. Like, why can't this ever work? So let's see. So tell me, and of course she has the great line here. Tell me I'm not in the cage now. Again, great. Adrienne Barbeau, man, great performance this episode, especially with lines like that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see. So Vreeland, she's chatting up Brucey because again, Bruce is her friend first, so she's chatting up Bruce Wayne. Bruce introduces Veronica Vreeland, Selena Kyle, and basically we have this again, the runner of just Veronica Vreeland and these Batman rogues at her parties. We have the Penguin. We have Catwoman. We're gonna have another one later in the season. She's just a magnet for these guys. And the Mad Hatter a couple episodes
Oh
back.
God, oh God.
That's what I'm saying.
Alrighty.
So like Veronica forgot that she met Selena at this wildlife at the wildlife fundraiser from the Red Claw episode. She forgot that she met her there. I love that you've done your hair. I gotta love like the vapid high society mentality. Like, oh, I don't really care about you. I'm just gonna like compliment your hair and just sidestep the fact I don't remember who you are when you were kind of the big belle of the ball last time.
Mm-hmm. So Bruce, he's trying to comfort her, but she's just saying, "Oh, it's okay, Bruce. I don't fit in. Sometimes I don't feel like I fit in anywhere."
Yeah, also before that we just had this
Sorry.
brief. No, it's fine. It's just before this, to squeeze in there, we have this little Veronica showing off that her grandfather, Stanton Vreeland, the whole reason they're at the function is because she donated this whole hall to her grandfather, and her grandfather was a big hunter, and Selena doesn't appreciate the big game hunter quality.
Right.
So, point being, there's a bunch of taxidermy around the place. All these, she points out, like, he obliterated all of them in the first place. That's why they're endangered species. That's why he had the whole animal conservation, preservation thing.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Selena, point is, she's like, I don't know, she's not getting along. It's a cat in me, she says to Bruce.
So she gets pulled into a car on the street.
Yeah. She by a very familiar guy, a ventriloquist guy, Rhino, huge mountain of a man. That Rhino.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Rhino. Right,
Yeah.
right.
I love Rhino. All right. So point being, she's in for a little ride here. Her taxi interrupt us with Rhino here giving her a ride. We turn the lights on. Wonderful silhouettes with the eyes and everything in the shadows. All they can see that. Little good details like that. Says like, hey, don't keep our guest in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we reveal ventriloquist and Scarface.
This is a good moment because Selena it's kind of the first time that someone doesn't take them seriously.
Yes.
And it's kind of like how someone in the real world would react to this situation.
She cracks up.
Hey, can it, sister? I don't stand for no disrespect.
What's the gag? Is my fly open? What's the gag? And then he snaps at her.
I do as he says, ma'am.
Yep. Again, that's a great moment, just a sobering reminder. Like, okay, this guy's serious, Selena. Be on your toes. the puppeteer is terrified of. The ventriloquist is terrified of. You gotta be on your toes with this guy. All right. So let's see. So then, also, I will admit that there's one flaw of the episode with the animation. Dong Yang over-animated Scarface. If you look at Scarface, like he's moving in ways a puppet shouldn't move. It's kind of funny, but just if you notice.
Right.
All right. So let's see. So point being, so basically, Scarface is a proposition for her, which long and short of it is, they saw her at the party eyeing the jewels and everything, and get into a tissy with the Veronica Vreeland. Oh, I think you've sagged enough. That whole chestnut. So basically, they want her to get back at Vreeland. Want you to direct that towards the job we have in mind. It's all pre-planned out. You just got to carry it out instead of us. Lower the risk on our part. You do the job. You get a 50-50 cut, pretty much. And she's saying, I'm walking the straight and narrow. I mean, pass, guys. Kitty's staying in at night. Beats the pound.
Mm.
Then
Scarface is like, that's a darn shame. I thought you'd want a chance to get back with the Vreelands.
Not just for yourself, you understand, but for all the poor widow critters.
Oh, God.
Critters who never had a chance to fight back. George Zunzos is just these geniuses. Of course, her response is, oh, barf, as the audience, like, come on. So then it gets the brass tacks. It's a 50-50 cut, you in or what. So again, big moment of truth here. So again, she hesitates. And this is the issue everyone has with the episodes. Like, why would Selena fall off the wagon just for this guy? But that's the fact of it is. The fact of the matter is, folks, she was looking for an excuse. Ventriloquist was the excuse. It wasn't him manipulating her. She was going to do this anyway.
I mean, I get that. I totally get that. It still kind of makes... I understand why people would have that complaint. I don't have that complaint, but I understand why people would.
Yeah. All right, so point being, Selena's in, which like, oh no, Selena, don't do it. So Catwoman's suiting up yet again. Extinctions for wimps. Put that on a poster, kids. So she jumps out the window, as all cool people do. You jump out the window knowing you're gonna land. It's like the Daredevil approach to life. Okay.
Right.
So the Night Watchman is doing inventory. Of course, Catwoman, she brings Isis, her cat, which basically is a distraction, like meow around the saber-tooth exhibit. Haha. So he's dealing with the cat, giving giving Catwoman a diversion. So she proceeds. Meanwhile, in the car on the outside of the place, why are they outside the place? They're outside the place for this reason. Ventriloquist and Scarface, they're playing a little double cross. Not so nicey nice.
Yeah, can say that again. Yeah.
Yep. Ventriloquist, he speaks to this like, oh, isn't it cruel to take advantage of poor Miss Kyle, Mr. Scarface? Says, hey, dummy, hold my hat. He headbutts him like, bam. That's what you get for going soft on me.
All right.
So Catwoman gets the jewels.
Yeah, but it does not go well.
No, it doesn't. The double cross takes root. Basically, Scarface has the boys has Rhino fire a bunch of flares in, basically setting off alarms and everything. The Night Watchman's been alerted. She's trying to run up again. I love how close she got to escaping. She runs up the dinosaur skeleton. Oh no, cat, no, pussycat, you got to take the fall on this one. So basically, boom, dinosaur, blows up and she's trapped under the rubble. So she was so close.
Pretty elaborate trap, though.
Yeah. Again, they were at the museum case in the place. It makes sense. Yeah, it's cool. So then Catwoman, I love this working the charm here. As the Night Watchman finds her, hey, what are you doing here? Can you give me a hand? This dinosaur seems to have fallen on top of me.
Oh God.
So the guard helps her out, and he realizes, wait a minute, it's a sad story, handsome, or it's like a long story, handsome. And bam, just kicks him, knocks him out. Poor guy, just doing his job. It's a dull story, handsome, she says. Takes the keys. She's trying to run out the place, but she runs into the GCPD, which is the last thing she wants because now she's been spotted. Now she's a suspect. Once that guard comes to, she's toast.
Oh, alrighty. So, let's see.
She's taken the fall. Point being, she's spotted, and she's now taken the fall, which is not good. She returns home.
Yeah. Yeah, she returns home, and let's see, Batman's there. Don't buy your ticket just yet.
Yeah, she's planning to skip town with the cats. Don't buy your ticket just yet. Little detail. I love that the cat loves Batman. It's a plot detail too. I love that cat does it. Like, Batman has saved that cat, so that cat likes Batman. Of course, so later on, Batman he's petting the cat, and he's doing a little something else while he's petting that cat. So, a little food for thought. So let's see. I should warn you, breaking in the banter of Batman. I should warn you, breaking enterings against the law. You would know, as she would. So Batman's asking why she was at the museum, because obviously she's spotted, and that's why he's there. He's worried about her falling off the wagon. Now, this is great, because on first glance, you're thinking, how gullible is Batman? Like, how love-blinded is this guy? Really, not so much. Batman, he's a step ahead of her here, where she's saying, she gives him this lame story of, I went back to apologize to Veronica Vreeland when I ticked off at the party, and there was a break-in going on, so I suited up, and I think I could win some points with the cops. Maybe even you. Now, Batman smirks. I think that's a dual smirk there. It's a smirk of like, oh, shucks. But also, mainly, smirk of, okay, she's trying to calm. Let's see where she's going.
Of course, yeah. Well, that is the kind of Batman Selena stuff I do like.
Yeah. So she's saying she knows it looks bad, and Batman's like, well, will you come back? And this is Batman, he's trying to champion the rehabilitation. Maybe it's not all lost. Like, why don't you would you be willing to come back to the museum and clear things up with the authorities?
I like that she's mature enough to make this call.
Yes.
Because earlier Catwoman would have run in this situation. So, on that end, Dragon, it is a little bit of a, of a maturity thing on her end, for sure.
Yeah. So, of course, we have, if you're with me, it's something along the lines of, if you're with me, when we're on the same side, it's nice when we're on the same side, she says. And, of course, he hands her cat back. And, again, when he hands her cat back, that's him basically, that's the doubt right there. The cat is representative of doubt, if you want to be all symbolic with things. Yeah, more on that symbolism later. So, Catwoman, she spots. They're at the museum. She spots the Tasmanian tiger is missing. Basically, the animals in the exhibit she was kind of lamenting over in the extinction exhibit. They're gone, and it's like it's weird they would clean them like this now. Like again, it wasn't like this earlier. Like when she was in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the guard. I love the ticking clock here. So the guard is talking to the cops, talking to the GCPD. Now, again, the minute that guard, like when it's revealed the Catwoman's there, it's like, oh, it's her, it's her.
Yeah.
The minute that happens, they're in trouble. That's like all hope is gone for her. So basically, she's basically there. That's her thinking like the next step. Like, how am I going to spin this so I can get out of here, or find out what the double cross happened and everything. So let's see. So they take a few minutes. They're looking around the place. Batman finds a sprung lock. Suspects, basically they suspect someone was stealing the taxidermy. The taxidermy was the prime target, and then she puts together something he has. All the poor stuffed critters. That's what he was talking about. You're not telling me something. And then we have the big Dini moment here. You know what's wrong with our relationship? You always let me get too close, and bam, fight. It's like, oh, Catwoman, jeez. Like, why do you gotta break his heart like that, man? Come on. So let's see. So the point being, it's Catwoman has a date with a scratching post, which is a wonderful way to refer to the ventriloquist. There's some Dini dialogue for it. Got a date with a scratching post with that wood log guy. So they're climbing the whale. Of course, Batman's there because he's Batman. Bad entrance. It's what he does. We don't have to make. He's pleading like we don't have to make this difficult, somehow. But somehow we always do. And she leaps from the thing. She feigns this attack. Like basically, she leaps and she plays possum like she fell. Like, oh no, Selina! And of course, kicks poor Batman unsuspecting, using his feelings as his weakness. Man, it's just sad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. So the point being, she cuts the wires as she escapes. Whale falls, and when that whale falls, man, Batman's using the bat knife to kind of like the save his bacon, so he doesn't get crushed by the thing. Giant momentum of this thing is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. We're at the lumber mill. You want to take some lumber mill reins here?
Not really.
Okay, so lumber mill. Selina, she's let's see. Scarface is selling taxidermy. So the idea is he's been selling to people like the Penguin, for example, because he stole a stuffed penguin over the phone. Some fun comedy there. Tries to sell the Tasmanian tiger for $2 million to him. Like it's a steal at $2 million. It's here's the cat, which it's a plot thing. Why would you bring the cat here now? But we need it for later, so she brought the cat. Tips him off. Drops a whole bunch of lumber, which of course includes Catwoman along the way. She's trapped. She's a goner. It ain't looking good. It's like, I thought I saw a putty cat. Warner Brothers, why not? It's great, cool. So she's caught by Rhino. Basically, yeah, I've never had much use for animals except Rhino here. Thanks, boss. Oh, God, I love Rhino. He's adorable. Moments like these. So let's see. So, all right, so the whole thing is that the rich geeks will pay through the nose for animals that they can't shoot no more. And of course, you know how much people are willing to pay for these? More than my life, I'll bet. You win, kid. So before she's a goner, essentially, because they were supposed to pin the whole thing on her. Now she's the wiser. Now she's going to get killed. ISIS attacks Rhino. Lousy Fleabag. Batman comes in, leap and kick. I don't know whether bite you or kiss you, says Catwoman. Again, this little nice back and forth they have there. Again, it's like that is their dynamic boiled down. It's like doesn't know whether bite him or kiss him. Yeah. So they're gonna sell that later. Meanwhile, Batman's fighting Rhino, kicking logs and everything from kicking me into this giant avalanche of logs. A bit during the action. Catwoman, basically long and short of it here, she takes out Muggsy with her whip. She then is grabbing the ventriloquist. Grabbing Scarface. I love that he's voicing the dummy from a way. He's like, "Hey, dummy, help me!" Again, just he's keeping up the act so well.
And this is where I can chime in again. I'm sorry, yes. Dragon. I just kind of find all the kind of fight stuff a little bit boring. I'm sorry. So yeah, I really like the Scarface demise in this episode, as I like all Scarface demises. I really think it's creative, and of course, Dragon, lumber mill, kind of akin to a junkyard, a little bit, maybe a little vague, brave little toaster pull there, just a little bit.
But how great is this for the ventriloquist man?
Oh, it's great. Well, first of all, I like the misdirection, Dragon. I like how it's like at first you're like, oh no, it's like of course he's gonna get sawed up by all those saws, and that's just gonna turn him into a pile of sawdust, and that's not gonna work. That's he's not gonna survive that. But here's the deal, Dragon. I like that the fact that he gets the pile of logs dropped on him. I like that there's a little bit of an ambiguity. Like we see him crumble apart, right? We see
his hand
his
and everything
pieces
gets separated.
Right. But I'd like to think, and by all means, tell me if he shows up again. But I'd like to think that he can be rebuilt.
That's the thing he does. That's the thing. Tiki's always rebuilt. That's the gag.
So of course, sure.
So that's the thing. And
but I'd like to think that here, it's a there's kind of a logical sense to like, okay, I imagine there's like a process of Rhino has to move all the logs and they collect the pieces and maybe take them to some, it's a project. It's a project.
Yeah. Absolutely. So here, what I really like about his demise this go around, I love how karmic it is, because he was gonna put her on the saw thing, basically be sawed in half. A little bit of an almost got him pull, by the way, of her being like on a conveyor belt, about to be chopped to pieces by machinery. So I love how karmic it was. That basically initially that was the first death trap for Scarface, and then we have this really I love this moment with the ventriloquist where he really sticks up for himself here, where again we have like this great psychological moment where he's just begging. We get a little bit of Catwoman sadism comes out here. She can have some sadistic thing. And this is yet again a reason Dini's kind of lingering on, or this is why Batman Catwoman would never work, because she goes a little too far, not just ethically, but also if she were in the crime fighting business, I don't know if she'd relent. Because she's like, no, I'm not going to help you. Just I'm going to let him get chopped to pieces. Again, really cruel to this poor man. But then Wesker here, you see him he sweats, and he really works up a nerve. He grabs like the stuffed Tasmanian tiger and bam, hits Catwoman to save the boss, and then she just hits the lever and basically drops all those logs. Again, ventriloquist, you see drop the logs at the beginning of the sequence. It's all karmic. It's wonderful.
Right.
So then we have the moment here where she's going on about like, I'm gonna. You have to believe it wasn't me. It was him. He's another person. It wasn't me, honest. It says, yes, but he's inside you somewhere. I'm going to claw and scratch until I find him. And this is the big money moment of the episode here. This is the whole hallmark of the whole thing, the ending. So Batman stops her from like clawing this poor guy to pieces. Like, don't make it harder on yourself. He cost me my freedom. This is the moral, kids. This is the moral. Where it says, no, you gave it up. And like, yes, she did give it up. That's the thing.
Sure.
She wasn't the stooge in this. She made a conscious choice. And Batman reveals they put a transmitter on the cat. That's how he found her in the first place, and he overheard the conversation they had. He got, again, it's just that she fell off the wagon. And she made a series of bad choices, kids. So of course, he's asking why. Like, why? Why did you do this? As we all wonder. And she's saying, like, I have to be who I am. I can't change that. Like I told someone else today, Bruce Wayne. The irony bounds, and it's wonderful. It's just the cat in me. So she tosses the Tasmanian tiger onto a fire, but basically onto the fire on the logs. Basically, when the logs fell on the ventriloquist, they're so interchangeable, kids. When it fell on Scarface, it started a fire with like all the electronics and everything, all the machinery. So fire begins. Things basically, as Catwoman frames it, it's the lady or the tiger, darling. Little Kipling reference. So Batman looking for an excuse not to arrest Catwoman deep down. He goes to save the merchandise, the last of its kind. But he feels dirty about it. Like, I should have got her. But it's, Batman let her go. And I just love the sad Batman where he looks so betrayed. He looks so hurt. And again, it kind of parallels Bruce Wayne earlier on when he was left at the party. It's like this dual sadness between the personalities. It's it's like Batman of all the rehabilitation stories. He wants like Harvey Dent and Selina Kyle to be back to themselves. He wants it so badly. One for the friends that he lost, but also to prove the mission isn't forever. To prove that maybe this will work. And it's yet again a personal sad loss in this regard. You know, it's a nice moment. Okay, so Catwoman, she's by the moonlight. I am the cat who walks by herself. No going back. So this is a no going back for Batman Catwoman. You hope she'd do the right thing at the end. Couldn't stay out of trouble. That's the end.
All right. So, Dragon, I look, man, I'm terribly sorry that I was so disinterested in this episode. To me, it's like the Batman Catwoman thing has always been kind of just like a ship that I'm just like not interested in. I don't know. So it's just a big fat chunk of indifference for me about the whole thing. And I know you try. I know that you empathize with me on that, and I know you try to explain it. So, you know, thanks for taking the brunt on this one. I genuinely feel bad because I just didn't have a lot to say about this. I watched it 3 times, so don't think it's not for lack of trying to watch it. I could tell this was going to be a problem because what can I say? I'm just not a fan of Catwoman episodes. I honestly kind of prefer when Catwoman interacts with the villains more than I prefer her Batman dynamic. And you do raise some good points about this, you know, maybe being the final straw, but by the same time, we've seen the Batman Catwoman thing in so many different incarnations, and it's always just this dance, Dragon. I'm not interested in the dance. I'm not interested in the will they, won't they. I find that honestly incredibly boring. So I'm terribly sorry I stepped on your toes on this one, man. I really am, and I feel bad, but I don't know. I got to stick to my guns, and this is just one of those things where I've never really felt much for the Catwoman character, and this episode just, kind of shows it. And I like the Scarface stuff. I think Scarface as a side villain is kind of the most entertaining thing in the episode, and he has a really memorable demise. But other than that, man, I'm sorry. The Bruce and Selina stuff, it's not that it's not well written, it's just that it's just stuff that I've been around the block with so many times that I just feel like I'm just kind of numb to it at this point. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say.
Well, I'm glad you got something out of the ventriloquist, so there's that.
Yeah, sure.
And again, you know what? Again, these are characters with like 80, literally like Catwoman's anniversary. It's like 80-year plus history. Like Batman 81 years old, Catwoman and Joker 80. That's what I'm saying.
God.
Again, so unfortunately, folks, it's kind of like it's an unavoidable problem that you kind of have to reconcile. And of course, with post-Nolan films, you've seen kind of Catwoman done right in the vein of this sort of thing. I could only say that, again, you kind of get that sort of thing with stuff like this kind of being adapted in the first place. But again, I hear your points, man. Don't feel bad. It's what it is. Anyway, so final thoughts for me on the episode. So I really do feel that Dini worked his magic here. It's a shame, but again, caveat, shame it came this late in the game where I feel like this is a great kind of like last straw kind of thing for him. Whereas it's like where the line's drawn and saying Batman's kind of given up on Catwoman after this in terms of there ever being a future there. In that regard, I like it, but as said, again, it's just again a little too much back and forth building up to that. So the animated series. I think the animated series has a flair for the sad tales in Batman's love life, and coming at the episode from that side of it, I really do like that part of it. I love yet another kind of tragedy within the love life of Batman. It's not going to work out. It's again, I like Dini kind of yet again playing with having a great take on rehabilitation, kind of falling apart in the end. I love how we call out morally, where it's like, no, it's just she won't do it. It won't take. She made a conscious choice, and you have to reconcile that. It's like it's addicts with a low point. You have to let them hit bottom before you can help, and that sort of thing. It's we have definitely a lot of fun with the ventriloquist. Animation's gorgeous. That opening, oh my god, chef's kiss that opening. Am I right?
yeah, absolutely, sure.
Me, I think it's got a really effective ending. It's a proper, honestly, it's a proper statement on kind of temptation and kind of troubled relationships all around, both with the ventriloquist and Scarface with their troubled relationship, and Batman Catwoman with their troubled relationship. So it's all around. It's a fine episode. Hall of Famer, maybe not, but it's a fine episode, I felt. Okay.
All right, and Dragon, I can pretty much guarantee you that I'm going to have a lot more to say about this next episode, so why don't you take it away?
A new foe, Gotham's Reckoning, a lethal luchador, the pride of Panadoro? Will Batman stop Rupert Thorne's strongest imported assassin? Or will the Dark Knight fall? Tune in next time and backbrace yourself to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next episode of the Batman of the Animated Batcave with Bane. That's me. What a lovely, lovely voice.